This is Super Yacht News with Lee Sisman.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. Okay, so this is episode 100 of Super Yacht News. Now, completely arbitrary number, I know, but I started it on the 26th of April 2020, Super Yacht News, and now we're at episode 100. So a milestone for me. Like I said, completely arbitrary, but I just wanted to bring it up. So anyway, we'll get on with the news. So the first news story in today is a yacht fire that happened yesterday. So it was off the coast of Ventimiglia. Happened around 17:35 hours. This boat burst into flames, apparently. Fortunately, there was only one person on board, and that was the captain, and he was able to send out an SOS before abandoning ship. Now, he did so by jumping into the water, and he was actually rescued right out of the water. He never had a life raft or a lifeboat. Apparently, it was a very quick incident. Fire broke out and spread very quickly. This happened in a place called, off the coast of a place called Bordighera, which is near the French border between France and Italy, and like I said, not far from Ventimiglia. So the vessel was called San Girello. That's according to the Italian publication Riviera24.it. The Italian Coast Guard were the ones that rescued him. They came out of San Remo, which is just up the coast, a little way there. And you can see some of the photos here. Very dramatic incident. You can see the Coast Guard boat there that's rescued the captain out of the water. And some other yachts came to attend as well, so that was good. The plume of smoke that was coming from this vessel could be seen from miles away. And in fact, some of the video that we show here was actually taken from the land. So I just want to say well done to the Italian Coast Guard. Very often the Coast Guard get overlooked for what they do, but they're complete heroes. I wouldn't do what they do. So yeah, that's great. So the cause of the fire is yet unknown. And you know, the boat is a total loss. So it might never be known what happened there. But if I do get any updates, I'll be sure to bring them to you. So we'll move on to the next story. So this is going back to the story about the vessel that ran aground, Ferretti yacht with 3 people on board. You remember that picture that was sort of questioned whether it was real or not, because the people were just sort of, one guy was sat in an empty jacuzzi and one guy was sat still at the wheel. Well, the vessel was actually on the reef, and it was just sitting over, listing over to one side, and it remained there until it was recovered, as you can see in these photographs. So the photographs are from superyachttimes.com. They very kindly sent them over to us after we requested if we could use them. So as you can see, the vessel is in quite a mess. Unlikely that vessel will be repaired, but you never know. There's probably some fiberglass experts out there watching right now that'll say, "Oh, I can fix that." So maybe it will be repaired. I'd be surprised, but you know, in the same way that I was surprised that it was recovered as well. So the interesting story. There was an interesting story because on the same day, another yacht, which was almost identical, ran aground, but on the other side of the world, in the Bahamas, almost identical incident. It hit a reef and ran aground, and it was evacuated of the people on board. So very interesting, very unusual turn of events there. So we'll go on to the next story now. In a previous video, I talked about Motor Yacht Polaris, delivered in 2020, and the owner is Maxim Shubarev. He is a Maltese citizen. Obviously, he's Russian, but he's has a Maltese passport as well, and his vessel was registered in Malta. Now, the reason why I brought it up in a previous video is because the flag state had been changed, as had the name. The name changed from Polaris to Polestar. Now, obviously, that name is very similar, really, because it's describing the same object. And what I questioned is why what was the reason for the flag change and what was the reason for the name change? Like normally, a vessel only changes names if ownership changes. So I did some digging. I contacted somebody in Malta who was able to check the business registry down there. They told me that the owner is still Maxim Shubarev. So the name change and the flag state change is totally on him. What I believe that he's doing is he's changing the flag state because he got a lot of pushback from Malta or from the people in Malta because of the situation that was going on in Ukraine. So yeah, so he's changed the name to Polestar, and the vessel's in Viareggio right now in Italy in the shipyard, which is where it was built, which is very unusual right now for a Russian to take his boat into Italy. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's completely legal if he's not under any sanctions. There are other boats owned by Russians in Italy right now, which we'll go into in another video. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with it as such, but it's unusual, is what I'm saying, because of the threat, the looming threat of sanctions on anyone with a super yacht, right, who's from Russia. Yeah, he still owns that vessel, so he's changed the name himself, most likely to try and distract from the fact that the vessel was known. One other thing I said in that video was about flag states and not being able to have the same name yacht in a flag state. You can have two vessels registered in one country as long as the home port is different. So, for example, if I wanted to register my yacht, Motor Yacht E Sisman, and there was one already registered in London, then I can register mine in Liverpool, and there's not a problem with that. But I can't register it in London. Now, that's not a big deal, but in these small island nations that are like Cayman Islands and Bermuda, they very often only have one port registry. But Cayman Islands does have three. It has the Creek, Georgetown, and Bloody Bay. So it's unlikely that there are vessels called Polaris registered in all three. This was mentioned in the comments from some people saying perhaps he changed the name because he re-registered the vessel and the name was already taken. And it is a possibility, but you just still have to ask yourself why you would go to the trouble of doing that. Changing the name of a vessel is complicated. There's a lot of paperwork. You have to change the vessel, actual names on the vessel itself. You have to get new name plates made up, which is expensive, and they have to be wired into the system because they're backlit with LEDs. You have to change all of the stuff on board. The crew uniform has got the name of the vessel on. You have to change all of that. There's a lot that goes into a vessel name change, so there's got to be a good reason for it. Anyway, we'll move on. So Motor Yacht Amevi, as the name of the vessel has changed in the last couple of days to Alto. I think it is AALTO. So this is an 80-meter or 260-foot yacht built by OceanCo in 2007, and it is or was owned by Lakshmi Mittal. Now, Mittal is a steel magnate. You see what I did there? And he's one of the richest men in the world, valued around $18 billion. And now the reason why this is interesting, the yacht Amevi was actually advertised for sale. And in recent days, those adverts have changed now to the vessel is no longer for sale or is not currently for sale. One of them actually has the name change on it. So I suspect it's been sold. Now, the reason why Mr. Mittal has sold it, I believe, is because he has a new yacht. And his new yacht is mentioned quite often on social media because it used to belong to Alisher Usmanov. Alisher Usmanov is the owner of Dilbar, which is the largest yacht by volume in the world, and it's currently detained in Germany. And a lot of people were asking on social media, where's his other yacht? And it used to be called, when he had it, was called Lady Julia. Now, before that was called Tiz. So the backstory is that Lursen built it. The owner who it was commissioned for never took delivery. And then Lursen put it up for sale. Usmanov bought it, painted it in that off-white color that he has. Then quite soon after, he sold it and there was a name change again to Alea. Now, I believe that Mittal is the owner of the vessel now. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because it's often mentioned as still being owned by Usmanov. So I don't believe it is owned by Usmanov any longer. And that would explain the sale of Mittal's old boat. Usmanov is apparently chartering, or has chartered recently, Motor Yacht Lana, which is in Turkey right now. So yeah, he's still got some money there. He hasn't had all his assets frozen. All right, I'm going to leave it there. If you've got any information about any of these stories or any other stories, please get in touch. The normal places, about page of YouTube, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, and you can now get me on Threema. Threema is an app like WhatsApp or iMessage, but you can sign up completely anonymously. You do not have to register a phone number or an email address. To get in touch with us, you can type in the code here, or you can scan this barcode through the app, and that will get you through to us. All right, thanks very much for watching. Please be sure to like this video, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the bell for future notifications. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.